Before we get started with today's episode, just wanted to do a little cross promotion with our peer health educators. They just recently have started a podcast as well. It's hosted on Spotify and Anchor. You can check them out. They're talking with cadets, faculty, staff about health and wellness. They just did their first episode on alcohol, and the cadet experience have 3 cadet leaders on there talking about that. So please check that out. It's Alicia Porter and Travis Lieberman. Listen to peer health educators as well as more Konnecting Keelhauler shows. Hello, everyone. Ryan Rodriguez back on another episode of Cal Maritime Career Services Konnecting Keelhauler show. Today, we are joined by Erika Duarte, a GSMA grad from the class of 2019. Erika, thank you for taking some time out of your day to speak with us.
Thank you for having me.
Erika currently works as a regional recruiter for ABF Freight, an ArcBest company, a position she started in September of 2021. Before that, Erika had worked as an operations supervisor with ABF in Stockton, California, a position she transitioned to after being in the management trainee program she started post-graduation from Cal Maritime. So Erika, we'll kind of start with that. You've been with ABF for about a little over 2 years now. Tell us how you got started there, and then what you've been doing now in your new role as a regional recruiter.
So I'm going to take it back a little to how I got recruited. I think that is very important. And I was recruited for basketball. That was pretty much how I even heard of Cal Maritime. Prior to the recruiting process, I didn't even know Cal Maritime existed. So I received a call from a coach, and he was like, "Hey, we would like you to come out here and play." I went on my visit, and that was fun. I fell in love with the campus. I fell in love with kind of the scenery and all of that stuff. So I decided to go. So during that summer, when I kind of signed, made will sign to attend Maritime. There was 2 seniors there, and they were starting their application process to get into the NT program. And I would ask them all these questions like, "Hey, what are you doing after graduation?" People that know me, I ask a lot of questions, and I just like to know. I don't like to assume, so I like to know. So I asked a lot of questions like, "What are you doing after graduation? Is it hard after graduation? Like, what is your major? What are some obstacles, challenges that I'm going to come across?" And they were very open. They were very helpful, to say the least. So they graduated, moved on. So then when I was graduating that summer, I reached out to them, and I'm like, "Hey, like, how is it going? Is this something that you think that I would like?" And they were very, straightforward. You have to it's like a game. You have to put in the work, and then you pretty much get used to it, and then it gets easier. So I was like, okay. They came to the career fair, and I had my first interview with them my junior year, which technically is kind of like my freshman year at Maritime. And we kept in contact. I did my interview, we kept in contact. It was, my senior year came by. And then from there was like, "Hey, like, I spoke to you at the last career fair. I would like to pursue a career with ABF. What can I do, or what can you do, or how can I get in with ABF?" And that year, they came back in October, and they took the 2 basketball players that I had known of, and that's Taylor, Anaya, and Kaylor. And I asked them questions, and then that time it was more of like, okay, this is it. This is where I want to go. This is kind of what I want to do. So then I applied. The process was lengthy. It was very long. It was about, I think, 2 months before I actually heard from them. So by then I was like, okay, I don't think this is it. I don't think this is going to be my route. So I called them, and I was like, "Hey, how long was your process?" And they were like, "Hey, mine was lengthy. Just be patient. They should be contacting you." Well, but then 2 weeks after that, they called me back, and they're like, "Hey, we would like, to make you an offer. When can you start?" So pretty much I started the MT program. I started in January 7th of 2019. Sorry, so I did graduate December 2018. Sorry about that. So I started January 7th, 2019 in Sacramento. So every day I was driving from Stockton to Sacramento to do the program, where the program itself, I think that it's a great opportunity for just a grad that's coming out of college. It teaches you so much, and it just adds on to the skills that I think Cal Maritime and some of our life experiences have also taught us. So that was fun. I did outbound, I did inbound, I learned city dispatch, I did training with the clerks, I did account manager training. I did a lot of kind of driver training. I taught them, and I taught myself how to use their PDAs, their softwares. And I was able to answer a lot of calls. I'm bilingual, so I speak Spanish. So I was able to kind of take up on a lot of that work where I was able to contact customers and be able to assist them in that way. So kind of knowing that my responsibilities just grew through the entire time that I was there. So I was there for an additional month. So I was there for 7 months. Then I was placed in San Diego where I was doing outbound. After that, I was doing some outbound there, which pretty much consists of shipping or getting freight that it's pickups that come off the street, and then loading them, make sure it's loaded, and then you kind of ship them out to another service center. I was there for about 5 months when a position opened up back home, which is Stockton, California for me. And it was kind of like a no-brainer for me. It was like, okay, I want to go back home. I want to, be near my family. So they actually allowed me to do that because that was a lateral move. And so they were like, yeah, let's go ahead and do it. So I made that change, that transfer to Northern California again, where I did inbound and did city dispatch. So it was completely different than what I did down there. And then obviously the responsibilities there also changed. So I oversaw about 30 employees. So it was drivers and clerks. They can call you with something that happens on the street to something that as simple as, hey, the bathroom broke, like, how can we fix it, or what's going to happen? So then I was there for about a year and a half, and then the position opened up for the regional recruiter. So I applied. I went through the motions. At first I was like, okay, like, I don't know if this is something that I want, but I want to try it. And I did. I went through the process. Again, I was able to reach out to actual recruiters. So I'm like, hey, what do you like? What don't you like? My name is Erika. Like, I am in operations. I don't know anything of what I'm about to get into. Like,
it's quite different, yeah.
Me? And I can only tell you that the company has some very amazing people that they're very relatable, and they're easy to talk to. So I called them and they were like, yeah, well, here are the good things and the bad things that I think. And now I started my role in September of this year, and I've been traveling since then. So that's a little bit of how I started and ended up at Maritime, to my little small path, or my journey within, Cal Maritime, and how I graduated into this role.
Nice. Awesome. Thank you. No, it's good for students to definitely hear that. So, and I wanted to touch a little bit more on like how you ended up selecting Cal Maritime, and more specifically the GSMA program, because I think your story is a little bit typical for athletes. Is you get recruited and it's like you end up learning about schools that you never heard of before and thought about. So how'd you, I guess, zero in on Cal Maritime, and then the GSMA major specifically, how'd you go about that process of picking that?
The way it was explained to me, it was ocean. Hey, you're going to learn about the ocean. You're going to learn about policy. You're going to learn about the different things that happen within the ocean. Prior to this, I'm not gonna say I wasn't aware that there was a whole like other world, but maritime exposed me to a complete different world. Especially for where I've come from. I come from Stockton, so I grew up in most of the South Side inner city. So coming out and seeing this or being exposed to this, it was like, whoa, like hold on. So you're telling me that there's a whole other world, pretty much an entire industry out there that I don't know of. I want dibs. I want to be part of it. I want to be like someone that can change the world. So then when it came down to the different classes and the different work assignments, they were like, okay, so GSMA, you're going to type a lot of papers and you're going to learn about this. You have a 40-page thesis at the end, whereas IBL, you are going to have to do a lot more math classes. And I was like, I am not good in math. So what's left? GSMA. So then that's how I ended up picking that that major. And also I had the interest. It was more like, okay, like I want to learn about the ocean. And for a good year, I was like, I am trash free. Like I'm going to clean up the ocean. And, it's like, I was like on it. And there was a professor there who loved the ocean. And I really had conversations with her in regards to the things that I wanted to do with my major. Unfortunately, like the route that I chose didn't go that way, but I'm still very blessed to be where I'm at.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I mean, sometimes it starts with a little interest and you pick something
Right.
and then it takes you on another path and you go and you find how to work things out for sure. So,
Right.
and you kind of mentioned your thesis a little bit, but I did want to get your perspective as a transfer student. And Cal Maritime doesn't have a lot of transfer students, but especially in IBL and GSMA, a little bit more and a little bit more unique experience with kind of an accelerated timeline to get your internship, knock out your international experience, so on and so forth. And you took your internship after you had completed all your classes except for your thesis, which you came back in the fall to do. So how did Cal Maritime prepare you for that, for your internship? You interned with Marriott. What did you do with them? And kind of what was your process in finding that internship?
I forgot the name, but I met the recruiter at the career fair. And she had came once, and then she had selected a few. She had a few openings, so it was me and another gentleman who kind of applied for the position, and we got it. He did engineering. I did housekeeping. So my internship with housekeeping, that was solely what I was doing. That was I kind of planned it that way, but then again, Maritime doesn't really have a plan. I think that it doesn't really had a plan, because I don't know if things changed, had a plan for transfers. So I felt more like, okay, well, if I get all of the hard stuff out the way, then I can kind of do an internship and then take it and learn from it as I am getting closer to graduation. And I think that that was the best way that, or the best way that it worked for me. So I did the Marriott, and there I did housekeeping. At first, it was just kind of overshadowing things here and there. But summer was just, it's crazy. People like to travel,
Yep.
hotel industry, hospitality. At first, when I first started, I was like, oh, I want to do this. Like, I can't, like, this is it. Like, I want to do this. And I, like, this is it. So they actually, the Marriott had a small little program that they have the interns do. And I kind of tied my internship paper to that program. And it was pretty much to do something within that hospitality environment that you think will impact the world. And for me, it was making or creating a way to have a trash can and a recyclable can next to it at each room. So therefore we can, reduce waste and do kind of go green type of motion, and then the trash, right? So that was kind of what I did there. And I think that that was pretty exciting. Other than that, after a while, I was actually doing the schedule. I was actually towards my end of the internship, I was doing the scheduled. I was doing my I was doing the interviews. So I feel like little things have in my life have happened that have led me to kind of the role that I have now, where I'm like, I was exposed to it early on, and Marriott gave me that opportunity to kind of like, okay, like, what does she really have, you know? And I still talk to a lot of people from there, and I think that was a very growing experience for me. And I think that the biggest thing that I think Maritime impacted in this whole internship journey was, well, and even in my job now, is the discipline. You know, knowing that there's consequences to everything. I feel like that Cal Maritime made it did a very good job in. Not only to mention the uniform. So before, like, again, I didn't choose for college for the college. It was more for the recruiting basketball side of things. So after a while, it was like, hey, I kind of like this. I like the discipline. I like the you know, you have to be up at a certain time, or you have to stand watch, and you don't understand watch. You're like, well, I'm just watching a building, right? But then you really understand the importance of watch.
Gotcha. And you kind of, as a great interviewee, you segued right into the next question. It was going to be for Marriott and ABF. Just overall, and you might want to add just a little bit more. How did Cal Maritime, the Corps, and the GSMA program prepare you to enter these professional entities?
I like, again, when you're part of the Corps, like, you really have to step into a leadership role. You have to be responsible, and you have to follow through with what you say you're going to do. So I was also part of housing. So I think it was a LCM, Learning Community Mentor. I think that was my role. And that taught me to pretty much consider other people. And I feel like now in this role, and even with my internship, I don't think if I have had that exposure to really understand, hey, things can really go left, and you have to respond, and you have to be able to make a correction of something, right? So I feel like there's days where when I was in operations, I would be like, what would I do if I was still at Maritime? Like, I don't want to do this. And sometimes you're just like, okay, you know what? Suck it up and just get it done. Just know that it's temporary. It's only here for a short period of time. So I feel like Maritime taught me to get focused, to be like, okay, this is not something that's going to last a long time. But during the time that I'm here, how can I be great at it? How can I be better than good? How can I be good at pretty much understanding that I can be great? You know what I mean?
Yep. So no, I love that. I love that how you are utilizing experiences that aren't necessarily what you ended up doing in work, but that could translate for sure, and seeing how those skills connected. I also love that you were finding stuff at the career fair. That's good promotion for career services.
Yes.
And for anyone listening, Erika was back on campus in October, now recruiting our cadets at the career fair. So it's kind of come full circle for you all the way around. So now we're going to dive a little bit more into what you've been doing at ABF and stuff. So first, as an operational supervisor for ABF, kind of describe what your role was and what a typical day or even a typical week was like in that position.
Oh man, so I do have some notes on my left side because I cover so much. It's not something that I can sit here and really explain to you. Just because the pace is quick. You have to be responsible and you have to respond quickly. And understanding that you overseeing, folks that can be your dad, that can be your grandpa.
Yep.
So that's tough. And not to mention also being a female in a logistics world, in the trucking industry. That itself, it's a challenge. That itself, it's hard. So you come across a lot of challenges, I would say, that make you just suck it up and keep going. So some of the things that I did, so in San Diego, I was doing outbound. So pretty much operations is a full circle, okay? So you have the inbound shift, which is your inbound, which pretty much get everything ready for the next day. So that's what I did in Stockton. Then city dispatch comes in place. City dispatch makes this happen, okay? So they're the planners, they're the loading, they're unloading trailers to get your city routes loaded. Once those city routes are loaded, then you have your drivers. Your drivers come in, you give them their assignment, they go on and deliver freight, okay? They make pickups. So from the same circle, we went from inbound to city dispatch, right? You go from here, then outbound comes in. So outbound is pretty much the last piece to the full circle, because now all the pickups that city dispatch picked up that day need to be going outbound, right? So they need to be shipped to another service center. Some of them have to go across the country. Some of them just have to go to Sacramento. So the job that I did in San Diego was mainly shipping kind of all the pickups. So there I was doing more of the end of the shift type of things, making sure paperwork was right, holding my drivers accountable to making sure that it has a commodity, it has weight, it has, ship to, ship from, and all of that stuff. So now on inbound, my focus was more into how can I make this happen? And my goal every day was to reduce how many trucks I put out there, because I was like environmentalist, and I was like, how can I save the world, right? So I'm like, okay, not only you bring into, the cost and all that stuff, but my goal was, how can I be efficient with less not necessarily less manpower, but like less people on the street, where we can be more effective by like moving the freight that's here. So that was my goal. And the stories that with drivers will come back and be like, oh, I delivered a playground today and the little kid was so happy. That was like, okay, I'm doing something right. Like I was doing something right. So then I did inbound, and then it goes into city dispatch, right? There you come into challenges where, hey, my tractor broke down. Okay, well now I have to fix that. I have to figure out how I'm gonna fix that. I have so many pro numbers or deliveries still in my tractor, my trailer. How are we gonna get it delivered? Okay, all right, so take a step back, analyze the situation. Like, okay, well, I have another driver that's gonna be within that same area within the next 30 minutes. Just hold tight. He's gonna pick up the bag box. You're gonna sit there till you get your tractor fixed. We're gonna try to, figure this and figure that. So it just becomes like this very addicting cycle of like fixing problems. Mm-hmm. And you're constantly on the go. So that's what a typical day for me was. It was more like, how can I fix the problem before it happens? And I feel like that taught me how to do that with my own life, in terms of like, why wait till something happens when I can plan for what ifs, right? Mm-hmm. So I feel like that's what one day would be like. Now a week, by Thursday, I am ready to just, like go out and have, I love fries, but I was like, I can go out and have fries any minute by Thursday, right? But at the same time, it was like, it's the people, it's the impact that you're making, that connection that you make with shippers, like that's your goal. Mm-hmm. To me, that was my, yes, I'm doing something right. Like, especially before Christmas, or that week of Christmas, I want to have as many pros as I can out there. I want to. And the drivers are on board, and we're trying to get it, because whether we say it or not, it's really important for us to make those kids smile, make family members smile. And our thing was our logo, or our big kind of reminder is, do things right the first time, right? Do it right the first time. That's our logo, and we stand by it. We really do. We try to do it right the first time. And if it's not done the first time, then how can we improve it for next time? How can we teach coach for next time? So that's, sorry if that was a little lengthy one, but logistics and operations is just so much greater than just the word. And I want to be able to be transparent in a sense that people that may be watching this may want to go through the MT program. You know what I mean? They want to pursue a career here, and it's not easy. It's not easy, but it's definitely rewarding.
Awesome. That sounds great. No, don't worry about the link. That'll give good depth when cadets are listening to this, for sure. And you were kind of just talking about what I was going to go into next, is the skills needed. So like adaptability and attention to detail and things like that. So what have been the relevant skills in your role at ABF, and what were some that maybe you were able to take from your schooling here at Cal Maritime, and what are other ones that you had to learn once you got there?
I think you never stop learning. And if Maritime taught me something, and it went in through one year and it went out the other, it got re-taught to me again at ABF or at Marriott or in life, right? And I feel like sometimes we don't listen to certain things because we're like, oh, it won't happen to me, or oh, I'm okay. But in reality, it's like it keeps happening for a reason. So I feel like I have sustained some of those skills from Maritime, and then some of them have just left, right? But then some way, some shape or form, they come right back, and you're like, oh, if I should have just done it right, or just held on to that piece of advice, a little longer, I don't think I would be in the same predicament. But at the same time, you're still learning, right? We're still kind of learning. So to kind of tie into one thing that I do want to highlight is the people at Maritime. I think a lot of people from the kitchen to the student store, to people that clean the gym, to people that work at the career building, to people that are professors, to counselors, I think they all played a small role in my success in terms of moving into this direction. And I can't thank them enough for all the advice and being able to be like, hey, this is not how this response is not professional, or hey, this paper is good, but maybe you should try this. So being open-minded to suggestions, that has helped me to be better at what I do, right? Because being open with my drivers, be like, hey, that didn't work out last time, the other supervisor tried that, just letting you know. Okay, so what do you think went wrong? So now you're being an open-minded person to try to understand the driver's point of view. If, hey, maybe if we try it this way, then you work together, and teamwork makes the dream work. So I feel like I learned that a lot from Maritime, was taking advice and taking suggestions and taking being able to work with different professors and different counselors and different people. So
awesome, cool. Well, I'm glad that the campus did have a good impact from all over. I think you touched on a great thing, that it's not just maybe the professors or somebody on staff, but it can be anybody that's working here. Can teach
and I'm
us,
glad that you're part of it. Sorry to cut you off, but I'm glad that you're part of it, because like I told you on the phone, I think that what you're doing is so great in so many ways. I wish we had that, but unfortunately we didn't. And the people that were there at that time, they did the best that they were able to do within the things that we had. Mm-hmm. So I think that what you're doing is amazing. And I tell you that, and I told you that on the phone, taking the time out of your day to just say thank you. It's pretty amazing.
I appreciate that. A little bit more than about you with operations and stuff. And you were talking about it earlier in connecting with seniors that were there when you first got to, or were here when you first got to Cal Maritime. What really got you interested in it? And then what advice would you have for cadets interested in operations themselves?
Ask questions. Ask questions in general. I asked the questions that I think were important to me, and If it weren't for the people that have paved the way for me to come into this company, I don't think I would be here. I think that I need to also highlight on the people that have been with the company. I believe there's about 11 CMA alumni that are within this company that have completely different roles, have taken completely different journeys, but I can still call them and be like, hey, how can I do this, or how can I work this? So it's pretty much our own connection within the company that we're able to ask any questions. And I think you had mentioned what I advise, is that correct?
Yeah, just advice to cadets, but I think I mean, asking questions. How do you even know where to start? Until you start asking, for sure. And then what, thinking back to college, what do you wish that you had done differently, or what did you stress about at the time that now you look back on it and you're like, I didn't even need to stress about that at all?
I don't think I would have, I don't regret anything, because I don't see life in that aspect. I see everything as a lesson learned, or something that I should have just never put myself in a situation to be in, and something like that in the first place. So I don't think I regret anything. I think that the route that I've chose was the best route for me. I learned a lot and I was blessed. Now, in regards to what was the second part to the question?
Just things that you might have stressed about in college and looking back now, you're like,
Papers.
I didn't need to. Yeah, papers.
It's just like, I think that the emphasis on like what you read into what you write, I think it's so, sometimes I don't think it matches. I think that when you write a paper, it's your intake on things, your perspective on things. And I feel like when you put in your input, your true input, I'm not saying just go on Google and just pull up anything. I mean, like, when you're true with your writing, I think that it takes the stress away. And I think that that's one of the things that I enjoy, even now, like I love reading articles and then be like, so what was my intake on it? So I would like do my little summary, then throw it away. But I think that I stressed a lot about papers, but I feel because I wasn't as focused as I should have been. But towards my senior thesis, when I was kind of doing my senior thesis, I was like, wait, this is so easy. Like, I just have to take it slow, focus, and put my perspective in. And sometimes, they don't require your perspective, but I think that your perspective and things is very essential to writing papers. It gives it its own identity.
Totally. And you're actually the second person that has talked about writing specifically here. The other interviewee, she was talking about feeling like the pressure of being graded and stuff. And after she kind of got over that and was just like, it's not even so much about the grade. It's about, like you said, putting my perspective in there, my view on it, taking the critique, and then using that going forward. That's really the learning experience more than what my actual grade was in the process. Cool. So now, and you've done multiple applications and stuff with ABF. You're now on the recruiting side. So I think you have a pretty unique perspective on this. What advice would you give to cadets preparing to go through the application and interview process and then starting out on a new job?
Be yourself. Just be yourself. I feel like graduating from college, it's like starting fresh. It's a fresh start. And sometimes we go through a lot of identities growing up. It can be high school, it can be college, it can be, just in life in general. I feel like graduating college and coming into a career, be you, because the work is going to be coming out of you. The application process, I don't want to touch too much on that, just because we have something else in the works for you on that end. But I think that just be yourself. When I look at applications, make sure you just add the information that's being asked. If you have any questions, feel free to email, call, ask questions. Why is this, being asked? I feel like understanding what you're going into. I feel like that's big, because in the interview, I may ask you something, or you may have a question. And if I'm asking you, do you have any questions? I kind of do expect some questions sometimes, because then it makes me feel like you're engaged, and it makes me feel like, okay, like they understand the job. They know what they're coming into. So it gives me that confidence to be like, okay, like, let me take a chance. Like, let's do it, So do your research. Understand what you're getting into. You coming into a world where it becomes about investing, right? We want to invest in you, and we want you to invest in us. Do the research.
Awesome. Well said. Yeah. Please, cadets, ask questions in interviews.
Yes.
That, like Erika said, it shows that you are engaged, for sure. It shows that you're actually interested in the position. So with that, I don't have any more questions. Want to give it to you. Just any last closing thoughts, advice to the Cal Maritime community?
I was thinking about something, powerful to say, but there's really nothing to say that I feel like it's going to be impactful, right? Because then again, I'm just a human being on this earth. So I'm just a regular person. However, I do live life based on 90% of how I respond to things. So I don't allow myself or things to take me out of my character, nor change the way I see things. So one thing I want to say, or an advice, if they're asking me, it's listening. Listen. You have to be a listener. Like, if you're already constantly responding, then you're not understanding what I'm asking you, or you're not understanding what I'm saying. Communication, whether it's a small thing or it's a big thing, that includes communication in a relationship, communication in the workplace, communication with your professors, communication with your friends. A lot of people nowadays based on assumptions, and it's just communicate, ask questions, be honest, be straight up. My last one is, I don't know exactly how it goes, but the way I say it to myself is, Erika, remember that it does not happen to you, it happens for you. And I kind of follow that with, it's not what happens to me, it's how I respond to it. So those just words kind of shift my perspective whenever I'm feeling down, or whenever I just need that redirection, right? It's mainly how I respond to it. I have the power to respond to things, whether I want to be proactive or I want to just let life happen to me, and understanding that it's for me, it's my life, it happens for me. I feel like that's huge. So I hope it helps somebody.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is great advice, especially that last one. There's a lot of things outside of our control, but we do have some control in how we respond. That is the one thing that we do control. So with that, Erika, thank you very much for hopping on. Anybody listening, I will link Erika's email and her phone on the Career Services webpage. If you do want to reach out to her, she's said she's more than willing to answer any questions. Just make sure in the subject you put your name, where you're from, if you applied for a position, what position you applied for, so she has some point of reference, because as a recruiter, she gets tons of emails and calls already. So make it count. That kind of goes into to listen. Yeah, exactly. So the life of a professional right there. So Erika, thank you so much for taking some time out of your day before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, and thank you again. As alumni, as a CMA graduate, I am thankful that you are with us. I'm thankful that you're doing this, and I cannot wait to see all of the things that Ryan has in store. So I'm excited, and happy Thanksgiving.
Appreciate that. Well, have a great weekend, Erika.
Thank you, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye.